Well, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Let's Talk Live here on LTL Media. I want to welcome everybody back into a live show. I've missed everybody too. I've been locked up at my day job, and I'm going on a pretty long stretch here. And then after that long stretch, I'll be going on vacation for a couple days. So I'm trying to do what I can in between all of this. And still continuing to build the studio, but things are settling in here. And I know I'm talking with my hands already. My girlfriend's going to laugh at me about that. But good news. My computer that I've been building has been finally delivered today, which is very, very exciting. I'm going to be able to get that in the studio here soon and start hooking up all my other external cameras and microphones and start getting some live guests in here. That's why I wanted to do this and build this studio. And start talking about this, as this case goes on, and bring in people of interest and even people that don't maybe agree with us. Let's bring them in here and have a conversation. But anyway, I digress on that. Let me go up to the chat before I bring Mazza in, and we're going to have a wonderful chat. Mazza and I have been kind of yucking it up backstage here the last 20 minutes, and I think the conversation is going to be great tonight. We have great chemistry already, so let me do this. Let me go up to the top of the chat here. Greg's in the house, says, let's fucking go. I love it. Nutmeg Queen is a channel member. She said, good evening, everyone. Lady Law becomes a new member. Thank you so much for joining and becoming a member or re-upping your membership. I appreciate it. Elliot's in the house, listening from Toronto, Canada. Nice to see you. What the Fox is in the house. I missed you too. Thanks for being here. Thank you for being here. Jerry's here. Danny, our moderator's here. Thank you. Shelby's in the house. My girlfriend's in the house moderating. Ruby. Rogue is here. What up? Barry's over here. He says, the man, I like the new song. Hey, good to see you, Barry. Good to see you over here. And we will move on. I'm not going to keep Mazza too much long. Let's bring him in and have an awesome show tonight. So here we go. Mazza, what's going on, man?
Thanks for having me on the show, Brian. I'm happy to be here for the first time. Very excited tonight.
Yeah, it's been a little while. I know I have to first say this. Thank you so much for supporting me. You've been kind of retweeting all my stuff, and you've been in the chat a lot, and you've really supported the channel. So, one, my hat's off to you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And I knew we would kind of clash at some point. It's just the timing had to be right. But welcome to Let's Talk Live. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it so much. Yeah, I've been following your show for several months, and every time I see you on, I'm always hitting that retweet, repost button and jumping in the comments when I have an opportunity to. And just, I like to support those of us, or those out there that are really trying to spread the free Karen Reed message. And I always have just seen your diligence over those months, and I always want to kind of, when I see you on, like, let me share your feed for you on Twitter or X, and just help get your show out there even more. Not that you need my help, but I don't mind doing it.
Yeah, man. Every little effort helps in the free Karen Reed movement. I always say that everybody is doing their parts. Obviously, we have the king, the man on top, Aiden Turtleboy Carney, that has started all of this. And we were talking backstage where, you said that he doesn't really get into these stories that, kind of those, when it comes to it, he's like, I'm going to tell you so. I told you so, And I think he's been doing a phenomenal job for just over a year and a half in this case, and really done some hardcore reporting on this. And guess what? He's been right. He's been right.
Yep.
So
100%.
All good stuff. And again, I always say this. And we talked about this early, you and I backstage. I said, I heard about this case at first and kind of put it in the back of my memory, and some of the locals were talking about it. And then when I started doing my lives back in September, that kind of led me down the algorithm of oh God, Turtle Boy's doing this stuff. Right. And then eventually got him on the show and learning all his reporting on this. And again, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. And I've been always very appreciative of everything that he's either done for me or done to help the free Karen Reed movement. So
right, exactly. He shared so many of my posts on X over the past several months, and his team over at TB Daily News on X as well has shared a lot of my, especially during his imprisonment. Turtle Boy Daily News was sharing so many of my posts almost on a daily basis, and it was helpful to get the word across. And there was a lot of things I had to say, and for me, I've just kind of invested more and more and more as time's gone on, from being someone initially interested in it back last May, kind of curious last May, and then June and July, my interest started to become exponential. And then
Mhm.
time in the summer, I started to take the Twitter and start posting on there, and then started to get to know some people and things like that. But really, where I really got super involved was when the arrest happened in
Mhm.
October, and then that only went up another level after the December arrest, the day after Christmas, and then after that, I just really went off because I just can't stand corruption. I can't stand cover-ups. I can't stand anything like that. And like you were just saying earlier, like we talked about on the pre-show or before the show,
Yeah.
I've seen Turtle Boy over the years. I've followed him for almost 10 years, probably about 10 years. And he's always posted stories that turn out to be true in the long run. And I've also seen him just abandon stories if he learns that something doesn't really have any truthfulness to it as he learns as he goes on. So he's very diligent to being an accurate reporter. And you would never see him go this far if he wasn't convicted and had sources that were extremely reliable.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think you've been following a lot longer than I have. We talked about that.
Mhm.
You've been a longer turtle rider, and I knew of him jumping on with like Jerry Callahan. He was doing spots with him for a
Yes.
while, and that's
Yep.
kind of how I caught on with him.
Yep.
And that was quite a few years ago, maybe.
COVID years.
Yeah,
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 COVID.
COVID, yeah, and
Yeah,
that's
I used to
really
watch him
when
in the morning. Yeah.
yeah, that's really when he came into my scope, and I always thought he was humorous. He was funny, and
Yep.
the things that he was doing. So again, the man. If it wasn't for the man,
Yep.
we wouldn't have that stepping stone we are. So I've always been very,
Exactly.
very appreciative of him and
Yep.
whatnot. So all right, so here we are,
Mhm.
first week of trial. Let's get some thoughts here. I
Sure.
again, this is our first conversation, and I want to just kind of touch on a few things here. Let's talk Lally. What do you think so far? Do you think that he has done anything to benefit the Commonwealth? Commonwealth's theory of what they said happened back in January.
Not at all. Not absolutely not. He's just been, he has, I'm almost starting to call him a clock puncher now because he just seems to be like a default generic prosecutor that basically he's a 9 to 5er. He grabs his bag and he walks in. He rambles on about a couple of things, and then he just leaves at the end of the day and goes home and watches movies and drinks beer. That's literally the impression because this man, like when you look at the defense, they're focused, they're driven, they have an angle. This guy's just kind of like the old ball and chain. It's
Yeah.
another day at work. And he has nothing. And I guess that's the problem when you have, as a prosecutor, no facts on your side and only a couple angles or tactics that they might have used, and perhaps a judge that's favorable towards you when you object. And that's really about it. He's yeah, and someone just joked he's secretly working for the defense. I almost thought yesterday
I
that
think
maybe,
so too.
yeah, maybe some of the Karen Reed funds that we're sending to help her pay for the defense, maybe some can go to Lally because he's helped her out so much in this case. It's been incredible. It's been honestly, there's been only been one moment so far where I got a little nervous and confused, and that was when the additional taillight stuff came out. But after about a couple hours to
Yep.
digest it, read a couple posts, think through it myself, then my confidence was really solid again. So that was the only thing that really staggered me. And typically in a back and forth like this, you usually expect more moments where you're like, is this true? Do they really have something? But there's been none of that. I've been
Yeah.
absolutely calm all week long, last week as well. And, even with the Katie McLaughlin thing last week, that got debunked so quickly.
Mhm.
And just these, some people are lying. Some people have been very truthful, like Karina and her husband Nicholas
Yeah.
yesterday were
Very true.
very good, and they've helped Karen really defeat a couple things, such as the relationship between her and John, which defeated the argument that people were saying on the other side
Yeah.
that there was a feud there. That got debunked. The fact that Karen was drunk was debunked by the bartender
Yeah.
from the waterfall. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to do this really quick, and Danny, thanks for popping this
Mhm.
up. I just want to let everybody know if any donations come in tonight, so super chat, Nightbot will be dropping my Cash App link, all my little affiliated links. If you donate tonight, 25% of all donations will go to Karen Reed's defense fund. I think in the last two streams that I've had, I've raised almost $400 for her defense. And then what I'm doing is just for full transparency, I have one of my moderators that are keeping a total in the chat. We call it out in the chat. And then at the end, 25% of that will go over. You can go right. I post on my Facebook page and my YouTube community page receipts for transparency. And then what I've been doing is labeling it as LTL Media Chat Raiser. And then we put the total there, and you can actually go right to her defense website itself and see that the donation has been made. So any donations, like I said, in tonight, 25% of the total donation will go over to Karen's defense. So yeah, I mean, Lally, it's funny. I call all these character witnesses that he's brought on the stand so far have really said that Karen's a great person.
That's right.
Karen and John's relationship have been really good outside, nothing outside the normal arguments that a couple in a relationship would have. And she's taken very well care of the kids. And I mean, this is all kind of blown up in Lally's face.
Oh, for sure. He's got nothing that he can argue. It's just like, well, is Karen Reed an evil, sinister person? No, actually, no. She used to take the kids out for ice cream and pizza, and they'd watch a movie, and
Right.
they'd play board game. It's just she's like a cool aunt. The coolest babysitter you can possibly imagine. And it's just I can't imagine being a prosecutor and trying to convict someone of murder, and every single person's like glowingly, like Karina was like smiling. Oh, Karen's
Yeah.
amazing. She's a wonderful person. I don't think it's it's not a good look. And this is, I was talking about this earlier tonight. It's a dead on arrival case. It just is. There's just no, it's been sensationalized through parties that have tried to convince people out there that Karen Reed's guilty, and there's no leg to stand on. We've all fought and fought and fought for several months for this,
Mhm.
for her innocence, and believing in Karen Reed being free. And the more and more this trial goes on, it's only been a matter of about 8 or 9 days so far, about 8 days, and there's just nothing that's really going negative against her, and there's more than enough reasonable doubt that was established by last week, quite honestly.
Yeah, evidence collection in the way that they collect evidence. The funny thing is, and I believe me, I'm sure you have too, and we've thrown around tons of theories and all this, kind of Minecrafting all this. Like, what are they doing here? What's the Commonwealth doing here? I thought, and now that I have had more time to think about it, and maybe you agree or disagree, do you think that when they first charged Karen, what did they first charge her with? DUI manslaughter, correct?
Yep,
And
correct.
then those charges got increased to second degree murder, and then they had now there's the undercharge of the manslaughter DUI. Am I correct
Yes,
on that?
I
Okay.
believe that's accurate. Yeah,
All
they
right.
charged upgraded the charges, then they had add another little piece to it. That's correct. Yeah.
So I find it almost interesting that they charge her, they increase her charges. Um, Now you've got someone really scared,
Right.
but thankfully she had three wonderful, brilliant attorneys take on her case, Yannetti, Jackson, and Little. And I think, when they started to look at this, this case that they brought forth, the Commonwealth brought forth. I think at first they were trying to get her let's stretch this out. We'll call these hearings. I mean, even the last 2 months, all these unnecessary hearings, 15 minutes here, 20 minutes here. Let's
Hmm.
deplete the resources. Let's beat her down.
Hmm.
I'm sure behind the scenes they're talking the whole time. Let's throw a plea at her. Maybe she'll take a plea. I
Hmm.
think that's what they were thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
Then when they got up there and started hearing these attorneys talk, Karen's attorneys talk, they were probably like, "Oh shit, we're going to
Yep.
be in a lot of trouble here."
Yep.
That's essentially what I feel that
Yeah.
has gone on here.
I
So
agree with you 100,000%. This is kind of similar to a game of poker where a player has a weak hand and
mm,
attempts to put all their chips on the table in order to get the other person to fold. And in this particular case, Karen Reed was able to call their bluff, and now they have all those chips on the table, and she's about to win that hand. And that's literally what's going on here. Was that they had some initial charges, then they go, well, let's just go crazy with this on her and say we found all this stuff and get her to basically,
yeah.
succumb in fear, back down, and not do anything. But they never could have counted on her having the resources to, this is before the movement started, the resources to get attorneys that could help her, and
Mhm.
never could have counted on a movement like this with a bunch of us just out there, people like myself who were talking about sports a year ago on my YouTube channel, and now I talk about Karen Reed on X and all other platforms all the time now. They could have never counted on people such as you, myself, and many others,
Sure.
beyond Turtle Boy, who was the
Mhm.
initial, has been a flag carrier this entire time, but has inspired the interest of thousands of people. There are now almost 32,000 people in the Facebook group,
That's crazy.
and yeah, they never could have imagined that all of us would be pitching in money to her fund.
Hmm.
And that's just been something that's helped her afford these attorneys and take on this battle. And the goods on her side, and we're all on the side of good, and we're on the side of truth. And really, like you said, it's just they tried to put all the chips on the table and stack the deck against her, and she didn't waver. And that's not to say she was not momentarily feared and depressed and scared, but Karen was willing to stand tall and not give in and not
Hmm.
back down. And it's been this is one of the most incredible stories that I've ever seen in my entire life, and I've been around for a while to say that now. But this has been a pretty incredible story that I think many actresses in Hollywood one day are all going to be coming out to audition for her role. Quite
Yeah.
honestly.
It's it's something, and let's go back. I just want to go back really quick because I was thinking about this. What was it for you that was the sticking point that just kind of said, like, wait a minute, something doesn't add up, something's wrong? Did
Mhm.
you come to that determination yourself when you read through the information, or was it really Turtle Boy's reporting?
So it was beyond. So it was Turtle Boy's video. So what
Frames.
happened with
Yep.
me was I was being a longtime Turtle writer, and because my social media page got hacked and I hadn't put it back, and then when I got it back, I forgot to add Turtle Boy. As I had to refollow a bunch of things again. So I would one day decide, oh, let me refollow Turtle Boy. So
Yeah.
one day, yeah, I started to notice all these Karen Reed posts. So literally within a week of following him again on my new account, I had basically seen him post this video. So to answer the question, it wasn't necessarily, it was Turtle Boy that kind of got my eyes on it. But I
Hmm.
hadn't really read his stories yet in
Sure. Yeah.
the initial time. I just been kind of noticing it
Right.
and noticing things about Kent and then Karen Reed and the words cover up that were catching my eye, but I hadn't really looked into it. And it really wasn't anything else. It was really just that video that he posted
Hmm.
of Karen Reed standing on the courthouse steps and her defense team, Alan Jackson and David Yannetti, talking to the press
Yeah.
and addressing the press, and also being confronted by, I think it was a Channel 5 guy.
Yeah.
And she
We
goes, "We
know
know
who
who
did
did
it.
it."
We
Yeah.
know who did it.
I
Yeah.
happened to come in right in that moment. And it was
Hmm.
actually that moment that had drawn my interest. Like this is very uncommon to see a woman that's a defendant that is with her defense speaking to the media and basically rallying to get attention.
Yeah,
And
steadfast that she did
yeah,
not do this. She goes, "We
yep,
know who did it, Steve. We
yep,
know." Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And that guy, I always swear at that guy to this day when I still watch that video. I yell "F you" to the guy every single time. I can't get through that video one time without saying it.
Right.
And that was the moment where I was like, I got to know what's going on here. I got to know what this is all about. And I think I might have actually watched that. I think it was from his page. So I think it happened earlier in the day. Then he posted it. Then I happened to see the video. I think that's how it happened.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, because I kept seeing, I'm like, what's this all about? I see this video.
Yeah.
So I ended up watching this video, and I'm working from home, and I'm like listening to this while I'm working, and I'm like, this is you never see people, a defense team and a defendant taking on the press like this ever. And it was from that point on where I started to say to myself, I really got to look into what's going on
Yeah.
here. And I started to read about it on Turtle Boy's page, and then I started to watch a bunch of videos, including microdots,
Mhm.
and started to kind of get an overview of what was going. Yeah, exactly. Rocking the shirt,
Yeah.
representing the shirt
Oh,
there.
100%.
Yeah, and yeah, after that, I just totally was, like, hooked on information, and I literally spent 4 I had a Saturday, last it was either August or September now, I can't
Wow.
recall now, or maybe even July, where I said to myself, I was so busy with everything and working all the time and just doing things all the time where I said, I need to really find some time to sit down and really read this stuff and really watch these videos and understand what I'm following because I can't stop being intrigued by it. And so I spent about 4 hours on a Saturday evening, probably around 5:30, 6 o'clock, all the way to probably 10:30. And I kept watching videos. Next thing I started to do, asking people if they knew about
Yeah.
it.
Right.
Got up the next day. I started to watch all the Turtle Boy videos, like him confronting Jen, him confronting some other people,
Yeah.
and I was like, I'm like, who are these people? Why is this going on? What's this confrontation all about? Who is this woman? Who is this? That's literally how it started for me. Was just that curiosity of that press conference they did. And from that point, I just went on a full like independent research of like, why is Turtle
Yeah.
Boy writing about this? Who are they?
Yep.
How are they connected? And like I said, by the time Sunday was over, I'd spent another 4 or 5 hours that Sunday. So that first weekend I spent about
You
10
just really
hours of
dug in.
just sitting
Yeah.
there. It was a good weekend because I had nothing to do. It was one of the rare weekends where I have no plans. I was burnt out that weekend. Just wanted to sit on the couch and eat buffalo wings and drink my seltzer water. And I'm like, I was sitting down all day, just like this is
Yeah. And it
crazy.
does, it pulls you in
Yeah.
because there's so many people. Like I still I know like today I was like texting my girlfriend and I was like, what who are they talking about? Who was Julie, who was
Hmm.
Julie Albert
Hmm.
supposedly babysitting the kid? Because there's so many
Hmm.
people involved in this.
Yep.
It's absolutely insane. It's
And it
absolutely
wasn't
insane.
long before I was starting to watch Turtle Boy's lives too, to that point,
Yeah. Yeah.
and catching up, and it was extremely overwhelming in the first 3 months. It was like starting a new job where you have to learn the ins and outs to really
Mhm.
gain a essential, efficient one understanding, and the one is a very expansive 101 to say that. And I have to catch that Jill Daniels call not too long into my interest really starting to come in. And when that happened, I said, "Oh my goodness." I go, "We're really on to this. This is really something here," because she sounded so frantic. I knew
Yeah.
nothing about her at the time, but I just said, if this is the kind of reaction he's getting here,
Right.
then this is really something to continue following. And that was really where, that 2 to 3 week period was really where I started to get involved from a very quiet standpoint. Then I just only got more and more involved from there. So
Yeah. Let me just call this out really
sure.
quick. I had, let's see. So earlier tonight, I'm sorry, we had a new member on the channel. So let's add $5 to Karen Reed's defense. Lee and Susan Trainer just became a rookie detective. So that's another five. Detective Insider, I believe that's the $10 level. So we'll add 15. And I also just got a $20 donation on Cash App from Carrie, I'm sorry, and we'll add that as well. So where are we at? 20, 35. We'll put $35. 25% of those donations will go towards Karen Reed's defense tonight. I would love to hit $100 tonight to Karen Reed's defense fund. If we can do that, that would be really great. Um, so let's talk about basically some of the things that we've heard in trial. Let's talk about the sloppy police work. Absolute
Yes, you're being kind.
cesspool. What's that?
I said you're being kind to them.
Yeah, absolute cesspool of this sloppy police work. And I'll just throw some things out. Red Solo cups,
Yep.
Stop and Shop paper bags. We had a leaf blower. I mean, it's almost like they're purposely screwed this whole thing up. Almost kind of like, are they just purposely doing this because they don't want anybody to know what's going to happen? Because the travesty of all of this is, and this is how I look at it, knowing that Karen Reed is absolutely being framed, knowing that Karen Reed absolutely did not do this. The scary thing about all of this, Maz, is that all of the evidence has been destroyed in this case.
Yep.
So technically, we're never going to find out once
Yep.
Karen Reed is acquitted and walks out of that courtroom of free women. We're never, ever going to find out who really did this.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we have an idea. I mean, we
Right.
obviously know what happened inside 34 Fairview, but who were the major players? Who was really involved and what happened in between all of those hours of John's death? But that's the scary thing about it.
It is. It's the modern day unsolved mysteries. If this was the 90s, still 80s, 90s, and that show was still on the air. I mean, it was on Netflix a couple of years ago. But if it was an ongoing show, this would certainly be a show. It's going to be a topic, and might be an opinion many people don't want to realize. But because that crime scene is so botched and unproperly marked, that
Mm,
realistically, the number one thing you're going to be able to guarantee is, I would say, Karen Reed's going to be acquitted of all this. There's more than enough reasonable doubt. But the problem is that from a state level or Commonwealth level of getting any chance of convicting anyone of that murder, because there's really nothing that can sufficiently pin it on anybody
mhm,
solely. So what that really means is that from a Commonwealth level, state level, whatever you want to say, it's not going to end up ending in someone that was a perpetrator or perpetrators, or even anyone that was an alibi or whatever, or accomplice, I should say, um, being involved. But there is one hope. That's Joshua Levy's office, which just
Yeah.
actually came up in the comments right there.
Yeah, I just saw that. I
Buzz was
want to
ahead
pull
of
that
me
up.
on this. Yeah. So I'm like, Commonwealth and state level, I don't think you're ever going to see it. It will have to be based on a federal and FBI. I'm glad everyone in the comments was already. So I'm like, everyone's getting ahead of me. I'm like, oh, they got ahead of me. But yes, that's exactly what you're looking at now. Is that a federal investigation is going to be what ends up taking them down? I'm
Hmm.
very much confident or positive or optimistic that they have probably done a lot of research from a technical analytical level of computing data and obtaining data, including phone records and internet records, that are going to be able to tie this all together to say basically one day we've been monitoring you when you guys are having private conversations in
Mm.
cemeteries. We've had, whatever out there to track and record these things. So I think that's what's going to end up coming from this is down the road. It's going to be a federal thing, but the Commonwealth, the Massachusetts State Police, or anything like that, they'll never be the ones to bring anybody to justice. It will be done at a federal level. I guarantee. I guarantee that.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that. I'm glad you talked about that. Let's dig in a little bit with that. First of all, I just want to point this out. Kathleen, thank you so much for the $10 donation on PayPal. So let's add that to the running total. If one of my moderators can just call that out in the chat, I would appreciate what we have as the running total. And 25% of total donations tonight will be donated to Karen Reed's Defense Fund. Just pull this up real quick too. Buzzing for the Truth says studios looking for fabulous. Thank you so much. I'm starting to feel more comfortable in here. We still have a lot of work to do, but it's definitely getting there. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that people have to understand is that the people that waver on the side that Karen absolutely did this, you got to go back and look at the FBI doesn't tend to get involved in cases if they know they don't have something completely nailed down. And what was the
Yeah.
report? Over 3,800 pages of the FBI report that was handed over to the Commonwealth and the defense.
Yep, and they just kind of really just miffed them, didn't really care about it. It was just kind of like they tried to get to Auntie Bev and all them to tell them what they were doing, and they just kind of ignored it and marched forward with what they wanted to do, and
Mhm.
basically, covered their eyes, and
Yeah, it's funny too because I remember Jennifer Coffindaffer going on like either a Twitter post or maybe one of her really odd videos that she drops. She drops very odd videos, like weird music, and she always looks she's in Never Neverland. But she said in her video that do we really know that Alan Jack, because when Jackson got up and or I'm sorry, David Yetti said
mm,
it was Jackson. He said we have the report, Your Honor, 3,800 pages or whatever it was, and there's so many numbers and stuff now. I tend to forget things, but he said, we're going with it, and Coffindaffer says, well, do we really know that Alan Jackson got that report? And I went to myself and I said, do you really think that Alan Jackson would get up during a hearing in open court and put it on the record and
right,
lie about an FBI report? I'm like,
correct,
come on, Jennifer.
yeah,
And if he was lying, Lally had the opportunity to stand up right after he got done
that's
saying
right,
that and saying, Your Honor, he's lying. We never got
yep,
that report. Do you think that
right,
Alan Jackson would put his career to lie
no
about the
chance.
FBI and certainly for Karen Reed? I mean,
No chance. They wouldn't be talking about this stuff at all if it wasn't true. They've been very much about the truth the whole time. And I just think this other side just has their own interests. I think the number one, that's protecting the Commonwealth from a lot of fallout that could happen in the near future, the next 1 to 3 years, especially from this. And there's no way Alan Jackson and David Unetti and company would go up there and start turning over federal things from Joshua
yeah,
Levy's office. And the fact that it was ignored tells you a lot. But it's Jennifer Coffindaffer. She's just been one of the bad actors in this whole thing. Someone that just believes to a fault that Karen Reed's guilty and is already always protecting one side. And it makes you wonder, who is she? Who is she? Where is her ultimate alliance? Where is that? Where's that partnership? Where is that handshake? Is it with the Commonwealth? Is it with the state police? Is it
right.
with a district? Is it with the McAlberts? But I'm leaning towards probably the Commonwealth. But I don't want to make. I'm only alleging and theorizing,
Sure.
of course. As we know, I always say that on camera just to make sure I'm covering
Of
myself, of
course.
course. But she's just been so motivated, and for her to try to take the moral high ground in anything is absolutely absurd more than ever after the stunt she just pulled during her visit to Canton,
Yeah.
where not only did she jaywalk, but she also trespassed on 34 Fairview Road just to take pictures. And she's just someone that apparently thinks highly of herself. I'm hearing that her involvement in the FBI was minimal in terms of what her role was. And, she's just not a valid source that's an individual that's out to just try to tell you her beliefs as much as she's trying to tell you a narrative. That's my opinion of her.
It's funny, Maz, because I was duped by Jennifer Coffindaffer. I'll tell you how.
Hmm.
I when I first kind of went into this true
Hmm.
crime genre, obviously I was uh, following the Idaho 4 case pretty in
Hmm.
depth because it was just fresh. It just had happened, and she was talking a lot about it, and she agrees with me that
Hmm.
Brian Koberger, and again, people are innocent until proven guilty, but I can have my opinion. I
Hmm.
think that Brian Koberger in the Idaho 4 case, I think he did it. I mean, all
Hmm.
the evidence that I've seen so far adds up to him committing that crime. And she was in agreement, and we had some correspondence back on Twitter. I had her
Hmm.
on my show. I thought
Wow.
she was an excellent guest during the Idaho 4 session that I had. And then when I found out who she really was,
Hmm.
and this huge pushback with Karen Reed, and I'm like,
Hmm.
it's just crazy. And I sit here and say, Coffin Daffer, how do you look at yourself in the mirror? Your own people have confirmed through an independent investigation, someone with 3 PhDs that does accident reconstruction has
Hmm.
confirmed that none of this adds up.
Yeah.
None of it adds up. And how do you still stand there with this conviction that Karen Reed is absolutely guilty? I honestly think, Maz, that she's going to have a huge egg on her face at the
Yeah.
end of the day.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it's going to be incredible. It might be the whole dozen eggs that are in the carton for that sake. Might even be the extended 18 egg carton for that matter. She's
Seriously.
they've always tried to say all along, especially a lot of the trolls and some of the other bad actors on the other side, that we're out of our minds. We do not know what we're talking about. But like I always say, when you look at the size of this movement compared to the size of their movement, we have 32,000 people in a Facebook group. We have multiple people on this side that run shows. We have people in the comment sections that are donating money, that are tuning into not only multiple shows on an evening. We are the majority here, and we're both the silent majority and the loud majority. And their side is very small. And I think it's also depleting. And they've tried to basically say over the months that our side is in shambles, and even tried to really put the nail in the coffin with Turtle Boy going to jail. But all that really did was prove that if Turtle Boy needed to go to jail for whatever it is that they say that he did, it's something they never would have done if he was wrong about anything that he said. And all they did was validate this movement even more and give us more reason to sit there and say something's wrong here. Karen Reed's being framed.
Hmm.
Turtle Boy is being framed. They're
Hmm.
trying to throw innocent people in jail to protect themselves in this particular state. And all the people you see tuning into your show now, all your subscribers, all those people, they're all believers that they know something's wrong. And all of us are standing here and standing tall to fight for this and
Hmm.
not back down until we get the victory that we know we're going to get.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because I of course, Twitter's Twitter, it's Twitter
Yeah.
land. It's like,
Yes.
and it's funny they come at me, and I tend to ignore probably 99.9% of it. But it was this
Mm.
comment that said the other day about I'm crazy, I'm this and that, and for doing this, and I was basically like, you know, while you're sitting in your mommy's basement tweeting at me, I've actually been out advocating and helping and raising money. Like,
Right.
kind of like, what have you done? You haven't done anything.
Exactly.
And the funny thing is, none of these people show up. I mean, they know where we are. We're
That's
down
right.
at the courthouse. I mean, you can
That's
literally
correct.
come out there and counter protest with her. How many times have you seen one counter protester
Yep.
out there? Zero,
Exactly.
because they won't do it.
Exactly.
They won't do it.
Exactly.
They won't show their faces.
Yep. Any political matter, for example, in our country, whether it's Republican or Democrat
Mhm.
or various other groups across the country, whether they're political or for a cause, outside of medical causes like cancer, of course, you'll always see some kind of counter protest, even if it's a small number of individuals. You're seeing that right now in the Palestine and
Yeah.
Israel. protests. This movement, and I've said this as well. I go, you never see these people out in public because I think, quite frankly, they're all ghosts. The majority of them are ghosts hiding behind multiple X accounts, like you just said.
Yeah.
They're someone living in their parents' basement is coming at you on X, but they're using more than one account to do it. I remember before I blocked them, I'd make a simple post on X, and in a matter of seconds, I'd have 4 or 5 accounts
Yeah.
trolling me in a
Yeah.
matter of 2 minutes. It
Yeah.
was like they're all coming after me, like they're in communication with each other, like, "Oh, Mazza Media or LTL or
Yeah. Bang.
Turtle Boy just
Yeah.
posted
Right.
something, get 'em."
Yeah, and I find it funny because I said this to one of them the other day, and now they finally don't say anything. And I'll get to Scott's reply here, but
Yeah,
it was funny the other day. It's literally every time I post, like you said, it's instantly they're
yeah,
replying, they're saying something, and I said, it's funny for someone that hates me, that doesn't like what I say, doesn't like what I do. You follow me pretty damn close,
that's correct,
and
yeah,
then after that, it was just like silence. They don't say anything to me anymore.
yeah.
So
Unreal.
it's
Cowboy
crazy.
fan. Cowboy fan was one of I used to call Cowboy fan my assigned troll, back a couple months ago, last fall. I'm like, "What are you, my
Excuse me.
assigned troll? Like, you're the guy that's here to, like, counter me on everything?" And he caused so much trouble on my page. There's some rumors about who that was, but he'd go after Rita Lombardi a lot on my Rita Lombardi posts because I love
Right.
Rita, and,
Oh, yeah.
always making fun of her, and I'm just like, these people. So I actually just started blocking them past. Actually, right around Super Bowl Sunday, I was getting ready to cook a big dinner for the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
and I got sick of listening to all these trolls online. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna start blocking them right now. I'm done. Like, defense Andres Kimberly Fair, whatever that was. She
Yeah.
was one of the people I got done with her. She was telling me I was going to be sued by everybody, and I just got sick of listening to it. So
Yeah, it's just
I'm
garbage.
done with
Oh,
this.
yeah, those people are just garbage. Let's see. Scott says the Fed toothy went to both sides and the judge. It's an open hand game amongst them. It's we that can't see it, except for leaks that come into the case here and there, or outright leaks on the net. Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. Um, let's so what do you think about, and what I want to do, and we'll play this in a little bit, as I was so frustrated today.
Mm.
David Yannetti starts getting in this rhythm.
Yep.
The heat is coming to
Mhm.
Julie Albert.
Mhm.
He's really laying in. He's getting to the truth, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're gonna break the day. We're gonna break
Yep.
the date. That's with
Exactly.
a half an hour left for court, and
Oh
we're
my
gonna get
goodness.
out of here. But I'm gonna
Yep.
tell everybody, and we talked about this too. Listen, do you think that Karen's team's not going to stop working? They're going to go back and look
Right.
at everything that Julie said on the stand today, and they're going to
Yep.
pick it right back up
Yep.
tomorrow, and they're just going to go double
Yep.
time on her tomorrow. So,
Exactly. Gives them more of an advantage. That's all it did. Now after that, I mean, David Yannetti had already pinned her in the corner. Especially like you said, in the last few minutes, I thought were the most compelling minutes of the day as well. Especially Julie Albert on the stand today. And furthermore, I just thought he was really, really rolling with this. And when she stood up and abruptly and it wasn't the fact that she not only ended and suspended court today, it was the fact that she jumped up so quick and suddenly
yeah,
it's like, okay, it's over. Like she was
well,
jumping out of a cake. I
yeah,
mean, it was crazy.
I got to save her. It's like essentially she does this every single time the defense comes in and brings
Yep.
heat, and it's like I have to save these people. If I don't save them,
Yep.
this is going to be hell for me. But let's do this. We'll
Sure.
play about the last 8 minutes. If you want me to pause or stop, let me know. We'll just let this roll out.
Sure.
And it's funny. What was the other thing that she did today? And you might have posted it. There was a clip, a 15-second clip that was going on. She
Oh,
said
that
her
was.
answer, and Lally forgot to object, and he was late
Oh.
getting his ejection in, and she said no or yes. I forget what it was.
Oh, okay.
And I think I have that clip, and we can play that after. But something I noticed here, when Julie was in trouble, and she was waiting for Lally to object, she paused and looked right at him.
Yeah.
And there's been
Unreal.
a lot of coaching. A
Oh,
lot of
there
coaching.
is.
All right, we'll
Coaching
play this
people through
out.
everything. Here we
Oh,
go.
absolutely. We'll play this out. And Yannetti put on a master class today.
Oh yeah. 100%. He did great.
Yeah, Casey says because she knows it's coming.
How many times have
Heat.
you been to the Proctor's pool?
All right, here we go.
Say maybe a dozen.
And you've certainly taken your children there as well.
Now, I
Yes.
gotta say, like, listen, I'm an old guy. That's a hard 48 right there.
Yeah, that's what everybody's been saying for sure. I
That's
actually
a
thought
hard 48.
I thought she was close to like 55,
How often
Yeah.
have you
55,
been
60.
to the
Yeah.
Proctor's pool?
Yes.
Here comes the heat.
And you've seen Michael Proctor's mother and father at that pool, correct?
Yes.
You've seen Courtney Proctor and her husband at that pool, correct?
Yes.
You are very close with Courtney Proctor, correct?
Whew.
I don't.
Yeah,
How would you
That's where she
define
fibs
very?
right there.
Well, I
That's
guess
there
I'd
she
ask
starts
you
to,
define
you
it
know.
very close.
Yeah, well, see, that's where when you're lying, you're processing now, because what I understand is, when you get a line of questioning that's coming at you like this, your brain's trying to process because you know the truth.
Yep.
And you're trying to process that lie. So here comes that's
Yep.
when they're trying to process those two, like the brain
Yep.
saying, no, this is the real answer to it. And you're trying to pull from the other side of the brain. You're pulling that lie.
Yep.
This is where you start. And she does it quite a bit here.
Exactly.
Do you deny that you were very close with Courtney
Here it
Proctor?
comes.
No.
Objection, Your Honor.
No, go ahead.
That
next
was it right
question.
there.
Got
That
your
was what I was
answer.
talking about.
I
Yep.
didn't hear the answer.
Go ahead, repeat that.
Do you deny that you were very close with Courtney Proctor?
No.
Okay. You talk regularly, correct?
Yes.
You text each other, correct?
Yes.
You also talk by phone.
Very rarely.
Is it fair to? Did you say very rarely?
Yeah,
You
right.
talk
He has to
when you
stop.
talk about-
He had to
Usually
stop
it's
right there.
text.
Yeah.
But-
he just goes, do you like, are you trying to tell me?
Yeah.
And then he's going to be like 67 times.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I love how he had to get correction and clarification on that. That was incredible.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
he's like,
he's
wait,
like,
what?
What?
Because it's such a that's kind of like an elaboration too. Like very rarely is not a yes or no. It's like that's an extreme elaboration that requires a follow-up question where she goes very rarely. So she doesn't say rarely. She
Right.
doesn't say not really. It's very rarely. She says it with
Rarely. Who says
emphasis.
that?
Like say like, oh no, we don't talk at all. I can't say no, but very rarely. Like
Right.
once every year. Jeez.
All right, we'll keep playing.
Stand by that testimony that you talked to Courtney Proctor very rarely by phone?
Do we have a time frame? Do you mean now or do you mean then?
Let me ask you this. Between February 1st of 2022 and September 6th of 2022, did you only speak rarely with Courtney Proctor?
I don't recall.
Lie. Oh, there we go.
Um,
That's the famous I don't recall. That means
Yeah.
I'm full of shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And he goes, all right, I'm gonna remind you right now. I'm gonna help you.
Were you using Courtney Proctor as an intermediary to communicate with Michael Proctor about
Here comes the
this
look.
case?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Objection.
No, I was not.
Are you aware that between February 1st of 2022 and September 6th of 2022, you and Courtney Proctor spoke by phone 67 times?
Look, help,
Objection.
help. That was
Are you
the
aware of
that was a look. Help me. You see a look at him. Help me.
Oh man. I mean, what's that? It's February to September. So I mean, you talk about 52 weeks in a year. Between that time frame of February and September is 9 months. So you divide 67 by 9. How many times a week is that? I mean, that's at least 2 to 3 times a week
Yeah.
off the top of my head.
Easily. All right, let's go back. I know I was kind of excited about that. Well, we'll replay this. This is I love I'm gonna look at Lally and he's gonna save me right now.
Spoke 67 times. Do you still want to maintain your testimony that you only talked very rarely with Courtney Proctor during that time period?
I just don't remember the exact amount of times.
Well, you know that my client, Karen Reed, was arrested in connection with this case on February 1st of 2022. Do you not?
I do.
You spoke to Courtney Proctor that date for 12 minutes by phone, correct?
I don't recall exactly.
So yes.
I don't remember
Yeah.
exactly.
So that means yes. Yeah. So yeah, you know what I have to do? I think I'm gonna start doing this. when I do my lives and I live stream the trial, when I hear I don't recall, I'm just going to hold the sign up that says yes. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So yes.
See, looking at Lally again. Look.
Yeah.
May I approach?
Sure.
Before I approach,
Mhm.
your memory's exhausted as to whether you spoke to Courtney Proctor that day, and if so, how long the two of you spoke?
Yes.
Go with the third. So he's showing Lally the exhibit he's going to put in, correct?
I mean,
Sure.
I'm showing you a document with a number of,
Just show it to her.
right,
Mr.
no, I just wanted to point out which one that I'm pointing out. So the third, I was missing a number of lines. The third line down, if you would take a look at that
Look at her
specific
oh shit
date
face.
and time and see if that refreshes your memory about whether and how long you spoke to Courtney Proctor on February 1st, 2022.
Can you see that, or do you need glasses?
No, I can see it.
I do have a pair of readers.
Real quick, I just want to put this in. Kirsten, thank you for the $30 Venmo. I appreciate that. Let's add that to the total. If Casey, you might have the running total here. If you can just put the running total, what we have in the chat, and 25% of all donations tonight will go towards Karen Reed's Defense Fund. What I'll do and what I've been doing for transparency is I post receipts on my Facebook page and my YouTube community page after the show is over. And then you can just go right to her website for transparency. And it will be under, we'll say LTL Media Chat Raiser. So everything will be there. And we have $75 so far. So 25% of that will go towards Karen. We're at 20, that's $25. Am I right? $25? 25% of 75? I'm wrong, ain't I? Is that right?
25% of 75 would be lower, so
Well, yeah.
it would be lower
What
than
am I
that.
at? Yeah, 100 would be 100. Let's see. I'm at currently. I don't basic math. 20. It's 1875. Let's make it 20. Let's get to at least $50 tonight for Karen Reed's Defense Fund. I don't know. There's a lot going on here. Numbers and names are flying. Let's continue here with the testimony.
$18.75. That's
Yeah.
25%
Yes,
of
Of
75.
course.
Thank you.
All right.
I left mine
I-
downstairs.
I just got these, and it's
That's-
like the
Christy and
middle.
Eddie, just bring them up,
Sorry.
please.
It took me a while to figure them out, but anyway.
Thank you. I
that's just-
appreciate it.
Eileen says
It's the
6 to
third-
7
third
times,
line
Third
7
line
months.
down.
That's not
Yes,
3
I
times
see
per
it.
day.
I
My
just,
math is
I
not
don't,
nothing.
I don't recall. This
Okay.
was a long time ago. Thank you.
No one
You
recalls
say
anything.
that having seen this record, it does not refresh your memory.
We got Microdots checking in. Says very generous of you, LTL. Great show. Hey man, I'm repping tonight. Always repping. Always repping. Good to see you, Microdots. Good to see you in the chat. I appreciate you, man. All right, let's keep going here. All right, let's see how quick Bev gets her out of this situation.
Don't,
Bail her out.
does not
Yep.
refresh your memory. That's where you have to.
Man, she's squirming already.
Did Courtney Proctor tell you the day of my client's arrest on February 1st that she had been discussing the case with her brother that day?
Objection.
Disdain.
Ah,
Did you
yes.
speak
It's
to-
funny that this got brought up, and my girlfriend actually brought this up to me before I did my show tonight. Truth Nation says, I see back in February of 2022, it states that Chris and Julie Albert were both interviewed, and they stated that they followed everyone back to 34 Fairview. Now we're hearing one walked home from the bar and one was in bed. Huh.
Extremely notable.
Yeah. That's
Extremely notable.
yeah, and they're pulling an audible here because you
Yeah.
know why? They know the heat's coming down. The feds are watching, and I'm telling you, all these people that all came up and said, "Oh, we're with the Commonwealth," they're trying to distance themselves hard because they know the heat's going to come down in this. That, in my opinion.
Yep.
I truly believe that.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, Microdots jumping in with a 1999. Let's round it to 20. We'll add that to the 75, and then 25% of that will be donated at the end of the night. Microdots, thank you so much. I appreciate it, man. All right, let's keep going on. Let's see the heat pour on here.
That day in any fashion.
What day exactly?
The day
What's-
of my client's arrest on February 1st of 2022.
That was on the sheet you just gave me?
It was.
Well, I did, obviously, if it was on that sheet.
Okay. And when you talked to her, did she tell you that she had discussed the case with her brother?
Objection.
Sustained.
Were you notified that Karen was going to be arrested?
Now, I want to keep everybody, and I'm pausing this a lot, but I want to make sure that everybody understands this too, okay? These questions are being asked in front of the jury. So they're still hearing them, but they're not allowed to elaborate, obviously, when they object, but they're still hearing that. And believe me, I know when they say strike that question, you're still hearing it in open court. I mean, you hear what's going on, you hear the back and forth. So just keep that in mind. People are still, the jury's still hearing these questions.
Objection.
Objection.
What did you discuss?
Help me,
I don't
Lally.
recall.
Help me.
The next day, February 2nd of 2022, was the day that my client was arraigned back in Stoughton District Court. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
You spoke to Courtney Proctor 3 times that day before my client's publicly televised arraignment at 9 a.m. Did you not?
Again, I don't remember.
After the arraignment, you spoke to her again for 27 minutes, beginning at 10:58 a.m. Did you not?
I don't recall.
I don't recall.
Okay. So your testimony is, well, strike that. My client's arrest was pretty big news in Massachusetts, wasn't it?
Objection.
Sustained.
Why is he
You were
objecting that for?
aware that my client had been arrested.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of fact, wouldn't you think, Maz?
Exactly. It's well known. I mean, geez.
Yeah. Why would you object against that? She's sinking ship right now. She's looking at Lally. She needs the help. She wants out of this. Her body language has dropped, and she's going to play the I don't recall, I don't remember now.
Yeah.
Correct?
100%.
Yeah.
Yes, I had seen it on the news.
You were aware that she was being arraigned the very next day, were you not?
Yes,
This case involved your family, did it not?
Oh.
how do you mean it?
Well, you knew that John O'Keefe was found dead on your brother-in-law, Brian Albert's lawn, correct?
Correct.
So necessarily, your family was involved in this case, correct?
Somewhat, yes.
And you knew that ultimately you'd probably be talked to by investigators from this case, correct?
I assume so, yes.
Right. Didn't happen for 13 days, but then ultimately they did come, correct?
Yes,
So this case had to have been pretty big news within the Albert
Truth
family,
Nation.
was it
Yeah.
not?
Changed 10
Great,
years.
right?
well, yes, yes,
You were discussing it.
Here
with
comes
your
the heat.
husband, correct?
yes,
You were discussing it with your other relatives, correct?
yes.
You were discussing it with your friends, correct?
I don't know about my friends, but
So is it your testimony that with all of this going on, you confined your discussions about this case just to your specific family members?
not necessarily.
No, I mean, clearly, you would have talked to Courtney Proctor about this, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. So.
Gotta
folks, why
object
don't
that.
we
Gotta object to
end-
that.
Right,
What?
You'll have to be back tomorrow for your classes and jurors.
What the?
Yeah.
What's going on here, Maz?
Yeah.
Because
Shockingly and abruptly interrupted. Yep.
the heat's coming.
You notice in other days when she's about to shut it down for the day, she'll usually speak with the attorney first and just say, does this seem like a good point to close for the day? She did that a few times in this trial so far, but yet here she just abruptly motions out of her seat and
Yeah.
just starts. I mean, she looks like she's totally out of control. Like she's just like desperately like trying to stop a fight, for example. And that's what she's doing here. It's just, she doesn't say to Mr. Yannetti, do you have the ability to hold questions until tomorrow? It's just like, it's ridiculous.
You're
bad look.
literally at the height of testimony right now.
Correct.
The,
Yeah.
the claws are being dug in, and she knows this. She literally just stands up and goes, "Oh, okay, that's it. Just make sure to bring your glass." Like when
Yeah.
I was I was listening at work. I have to admit, I'm listening at work. I have my little earbud in, and I'm like, what's going on? Did something happen in the court? And then I had to go back and rewind it on my break and look, and I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I mean, the only logical explanation besides this being to defend her would be that this woman had to go to the bathroom so damn bad that she just couldn't wait another minute. That's the only logical explanation. I gotta go to the bathroom now.
Yeah, I gotta. I don't
Can you get
know. I
back to the
mean,
judge's chamber?
yeah, right. Maybe there was some signaling from Lally or something. It was just odd. It was very odd. I want to just back that up just a minute and just look at that really quick again.
Yeah.
This is odd. And by the way, Vixie, thank you so much for the one gifted membership. Thank you so much for that. So let's add another $5 to the total. I think we're at 80, and then 25% of that. 25% of all donations will go to Karen Reed tonight, to her defense fund. So I do appreciate all the donations that have come in. We just had another $20 come in. Charlie says, and thank you so much, Charlie, for the 20. I appreciate that. So let's add that to the total. She says, free Karen Reed. I'm so passionate about this case, and I'm extremely angry about the travesty and huge miscarriage of justice. Thanks for all that you do. Well, I want to thank you for being here and believing in Karen Reed and believing in this movement and believing that she is absolutely being framed. This is a sideswipe job. And, I truly believe in my heart of hearts, from what I've seen so far, just in 8 days, we haven't got another 6 week of trial. What I've seen so far, that Karen Reed, at the end of this, the jury will completely acquit her of these charges. And I have some insight to the jury. We'll talk a little bit later once we get past this segment. And I'll tell you some things that I've heard inside that courtroom, and what sources have told me. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Legitimate sources, not grant sources.
They're legitimate sources. My source has been inside the courtroom since day one of the trial, and I'll let you know kind of what they're observing about the jury. So let's keep playing this here. Let's do that again. It was very odd.
Objection.
So, folks, why don't we end?
Like,
Right, Ms. Albert, you'll have to be back tomorrow for your classes. And jurors, the 3 cautions: please do not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about the case, please disregard it and let us know. And I'll see Councilman Sidebar while the jurors leave. Thank you very much.
Well, I guess that rules out a
So bring
bathroom
your notebooks
emergency
and
if
your
you wanted sidebar.
yeah, I mean, did she have like a nail appointment or something, like a hair appointment? Like, I mean, I know that they don't just sell like what is it, Wayne's World Garth wigs at Walmart. Like, what is she doing?
All she needs is the glasses to go with it.
Wayne's World. I every time I see her, she's gonna be like, Wayne's World. It's just odd. What odd behavior.
Oh my goodness! It's just that everyone in this movement was just like, "What the hell
What the
just
hell
happened?
is going on?
Are you kidding me?" Oh, that's it. She's like a referee stepping in to stop a fight when a fighter's about to get knocked out, and just call it a TKO. It's like, oh my goodness!
Seriously.
Just,
Here with the $5, let's add that to the total. This is so wild. We just want justice. Microdot says, sounds like it's a good source. So let me tell you a little bit about what Microdot's again says. This the breaks have been favorable to the Commonwealth for sure, 100%. But I'm going to tell you, I don't want everybody to worry, because all Karen's team's going to do is go back and look at Chris Albert's testimony today. They're going to obviously go back over Julia Albert's testimony today, and they're going to crunch all that data together. And I'm going to tell you, Yanetti's going to come out tomorrow morning on fire tomorrow. So don't worry. I mean, I have ultimate confidence in Karen's team. So let's talk about the jury a little bit and some of the things that I've heard through a source in the courtroom. So let me actually just look at my notes. This will be a lot easier. About the jury. Hang on one second. I should have been.
well, that's good. You're not making up sources like Grant does, right?
I'm reading my notes. So from what this source has told me, their note taking has been absolutely copious. They are actually getting very sick about hearing about the weather from Lally. They're extremely attentive and responsive to the defense. in their delivery. And every time a police officer answers questions with, I don't remember, I don't recall, I forgot, I don't have an idea, they are literally shaking their heads. My source says one woman on the jury was actually muttering to herself, and they try to hide it as best as they can, but they're just clearly out disgusted as what's happening so far. They go back and talk about that when Alan Jackson was up on cross-examination, and they talked about the solo cups, the brown paper bags not being marked or labeled or sealed with evidence tape, that was truly eye-opening for them. So that's some of the things that my sources said. You know, and it goes back to this, Maz. When you are a police officer, EMS worker, first responder, you are trained in situations where your attention to detail has to be at the pinnacle, you know? And I find it extremely troubling to me that this whole I don't know, I don't remember, oh my, you know, and I get it. And I understand in I think Alan Jackson was right the other day. Memories do fade. But the significance of this case, the how it's been talked about, how it's been mulled over many, many times, I just find it hard to believe that you would, some of the basic things that they're asking these witnesses, that they would forget. You know, how do you feel about that?
Yeah. So, one of the things about memory and the way it works is that if I asked you what life was like on September 10th
Right.
or September 12th, you wouldn't be as likely to tell me where you were and what you were doing as you did on September 11th. Same thing when the Red Sox won the World
Right.
Series and came back to beat the Yankees. You tend to remember the details of significant situations, and you almost never really escapes you with, all the most significant things that have ever happened, whether it's in your personal life, watching things on TV, or just things that are memorable to you. It's the same thing here. What happened in Canton on this evening and early morning is an extremely memorable moment. And every single person that was there should have a sufficient memory of that, especially someone that's working, as a firefighter, paramedic, or
Right.
whatever, that is friends with someone and doesn't recall ever really hanging out with them. It's just things like that just don't really add up. Memories are usually strong to significant events. And anybody saying, I don't recall, I mean, I can understand if they say, I don't recall or I don't remember, maybe once out of every
Sure.
so often questions. But the thing about this is these I don't remembers, I don't recall are happening almost like on an every other question or 2 out of 3 question basis. And it's just absolutely, you sit there and it's like, you remember,
Yeah.
you do. Just stop pretending. We're not fooled. And they don't want to say that they do because they don't want to incriminate anybody. And that's pretty much the way it's going here. And it's just been absolutely ridiculous to watch. It's what people do when they don't have the truth on their side,
Hmm.
is they have to suddenly find a way through all these questions. You see the way that these people act when they're being speaking with Adam Lally. They're extremely comfortable. They don't seem rattled for the most part. They might seem like generally nervous just because they're on a witness, on a stand
Well, they're getting
basically, and just
softball
yeah,
questions. Yeah.
yeah. Then they're getting softball questions. Then as soon as that defense comes up, you see this wall go up
Oh
over
yeah.
some of them. Not all of them, of course, but some of them. And the wall goes up and they start to get defensive, and they, that Gallagher guy, I believe, or
Hmm.
Lank got really defensive with,
Yeah. Blank.
I think it was Gallagher. Was it Lank? Yeah.
Yeah.
Got really defensive with I believe it was Jackson. Now I'm starting to
Jackson.
lose my memory maybe for some
Yeah.
of the things that have happened this week, because there's been so much that's been happening. But you just don't remember things like this, and no one here that's been so educated to this stuff believes any of these folks when they constantly say, I don't remember, I don't recall, when Unetti and Jackson are asking them questions based on the things that they've quantified, and these people just don't remember. And
Yeah.
it's just not something that a lot of us buy, and we're all just, like, again, just not buying it. And it comes off as ridiculous, insincere, untrustworthy. And I can't imagine being a member of this jury as an individual that knows nothing about this case. And I'm seeing these behaviors, because the thing is, if you strip away all the details, whoever you think's getting the better of
Hmm.
whoever gets the truth on their side or whoever's lying, put that all aside, and you just look at the nonverbal, take away the five senses, right?
Yeah.
You just, when you just feel it in the aura in the room, The aura in the room will just tell you alone that you can feel that Karen Reed's innocent and that the
Mhm.
defense is on the side of right. And that these people on this other side, they're either making it up, they're telling you white lies, they're skewing things just a little bit, and you can sense it as soon as they start talking. When you listen to people that have talked yesterday, such as the two couples, one of them
Yeah.
being Karina and
Yep.
Nicholas, when you hear them talk, they're relaxed, they're open, they're willing to have answer these questions. They're not really rattled at all. They're laughing a little bit. Not that
Mhm.
every single person should laugh, of course, but
Yeah.
they're not nervous. Even the other couple, the man, Matt, I believe his name was Matt, who was friends with John O'Keefe, even though he was very somber, of course, for obvious reasons. Michael Camerano and Catherine, they both seem to be pretty
Mhm.
calm.
Yeah.
They seem to tell you your stories just as they happen to happen,
Mhm.
and that was about it. When you start to interview some of the detectives, such as Good or Gallagher or Lank, and especially obviously McLaughlin, as well as Chris and Julie, you start to just see people that are a lot more on edge, sometimes sarcastic, sometimes afraid to even answer a question at all. They're
Right.
not very forthcoming. There's obvious questions with a lot of detail that are being asked, and they'll go, "I'm sorry, could you rephrase that? I'm
Sure.
really not quite understanding." Which are
Right.
basically stall. Oh, that's like
It's
tying
a
up
small
your
tactic,
opponent in
right? Because
boxing.
you're trying to
Yeah,
sort everything out.
yeah.
Right.
It's like you're getting hit too much in boxing. You tie up your opponent to get the ref to call a break,
Yep.
and you get a 5-second rest.
Yeah.
That's basically what they're doing. And I see a lot of those tactics. That definitely tells me that they were coached to some degree in at least those basics when you're on the stand. And that's exactly what I'm seeing here. And it doesn't make them look good at all. And like I said, there's been nothing that Adam Lally has been able to bring to the table here that has raised enough. Like one person said, 12 jurors are not going to agree that she's guilty. And I would say at least 8 probably within a matter of the first day or two
Probably
have
right.
already probably made up their mind.
Yeah.
And there's always like 2 that probably take a while, I'm sure, but I'm not no one's buying this at all.
Yeah. No, I agree. And like I said, the jury, like my source told me, the jury are really reacting to Alan Jackson. Yeah, I like you said, I think probably more than half have already made their mind up
Yeah,
already. Because Lally hasn't brought anything. Let me get
nothing.
to a couple of these super chats real quick. So we had Elaine, thank you so much for $20 Canadian. She says, I'm happy to donate to Karen Reed's Defense Fund. I will keep donating. This case is disturbing that this can happen to an innocent woman. I can't imagine how she's dealing with this all. Hashtag free Karen Reed. I completely agree. And the funny thing is, people are going, I see it in the chat. Oh, well, she looks angry. She looks pissed. Some of these people, she has to be a killer. She has a scowl on her face. No, the reason she has that scowl is that she cannot believe that she is in this absolute position right now and that her life is on the line, a sense of going to
Correct.
prison for the rest of her life, and that
Correct.
she has to deal with this shit right now
That's
because
right.
it's all a freaking frame job.
Exactly.
I would be pissed off too. And
Yep.
I'm thankful that she actually has that look on her face. Like,
Yep.
I cannot believe that I am here dealing with this shit right now.
Yep.
You know?
As she should be. I 100% agree with you, Brian.
Yeah.
100%.
Jimmy H with the 5. Thank you, Jimmy, so much. He said, I lived in Canton in the early 1990s. D&E was my favorite place. Dennis and Ava gave all. It saddens me that their life, that this has turned into their life's work. I completely agree. I don't know the history of D&E, and it was funny. I was even like, what does D&E stand for? And thank you so much for clarifying that. And it's, yeah, what is it? Mediocre chicken parm.
That's it. Yeah. That was today's lunch special all over the state.
And buzzing for the truth with the 2. Thank you. Great show, Brian and Mazza. I appreciate it. So we're at 137 total. 25% of that will go to Karen Reed's defense tonight. So I don't know, Maz. I mean, this is kind of brutal. We got to go through another supposed 6 weeks of this.
Yeah.
What I want to talk about, though, a little bit, and we talked backstage a little bit about this, was Katie McLaughlin and her testimony. And that's really when we started hearing a lot of the I don't recall and I don't remember. If I do remember well during her testimonies, a lot of the I don't recall, I don't remember. But I want to go back to when Alan Jackson started trying to solidify that relationship between Caitlin Albert and Katie. And he talked about something, and I want to bring this up to the chat, and maybe people will agree, and maybe you'll agree with this. My voice just cracked. Ah.
That happens. That's part of being on the broadcast talking so much. Your voice starts to just go.
But I want to talk about this. I find it very interesting that Alan Jackson, when he was laying into Katie, asked her several times during her testimony, "You sure you never talked to her? Text, phone calls, Snapchat?" And I went, oh, he's probably got Snapchat communication. So he's like, I'll let her bury herself here. And I already know what's going to happen. When Caitlyn gets up there, he's probably going to go through the same line of questions with her, show her the same photographs. And I said, almost mark my words on this. I truly believe this. He's going to pull out probably Snapchat communications and go, can you explain this? Have her go through it and explain it. And then when he gets the truth out of her, he's going to get Katie back on the stand and go, oh, can you explain this? I mean, could I be wrong here? Could I be right? I feel something like that's going to happen.
I think you're in a highly probable area to believe that. I know I had made a post. When we talked about this. I had actually said, I made a post. I don't remember when it was, but I remember it was close to the day or day after when she was on the stand, and I made the comment on X. Got a lot of reaction too from a lot of people about it. Was that I was curious to know about their communication through perhaps text or social media or any other kind of
Yeah.
app they could use, and I was just immediately curious about them. Like, I wonder if they've been communicating somehow. That was one of my suspicions. Now, I hadn't thought about it as thoroughly as you, where you had kind of suggested that perhaps the defense would already know and have access to such information, and that's why I agree that your theory is certainly highly probable that is exactly what it is. That's well thought out. I like that idea a lot
He's got
because
to have it. Because
yeah,
why would he said specifically Snapchat, and I went, boom, he's got it. He's got to have it.
Right.
He's
And if
got to
they
have
have that, they're and they haven't really
cooked.
repushed the Katie McLaughlin thing because the judge Bev said she was going to address it in a day or two. She never did it that day.
Never
She
did.
never did it the day after, and she hasn't done it since. So you have to wonder if that's going to all lead to um, another show I've been on, it's been suggested that they may not bring Katie back on, perhaps because they might just do it all through Caitlyn
Caitlyn,
and then
right.
get that all done right there on the spot. So they might be just kind of waiting that they got that ace up their sleeve right now, and they'll pull it out when they're ready to just unleash and just say, we have all kinds, like you said on the pre-show, there's all kinds of records here. There's communication here, here, here. If you notice that the morning of January 29th at this particular time and hour, there were communications and yeah, I understand why Karen was staring down Katie because this is not like a situation where you're talking about someone that's a part of the group of people that might have been solely responsible inside the house for
Right.
what happened to John O'Keefe. But essentially, this is someone that you're entrusting as a first responder that you're giving your initial reactions to, you're putting your trust in to police, any kind of EMT fire department representatives, and you're telling them, you see that there, it's her and Saraf and Jen and Katie all talking with Karen, and she's confiding in them and believing that who's around her are people that are trustworthy
Right.
and are accepting this as truth. And now all of a sudden this individual is based on the images that have come out that have verified it are now basically finding out that this woman is not an acquaintance, she's a close friend. And there's nothing that can be said to me to make me change my belief is that I
Yeah.
would identify them as friends. I would not identify them as acquaintances.
1,000%.
Yeah.
You don't just randomly go up with people and throw your arm around them and take photos. I
Yeah.
had an argument with someone the other day about that. I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't go down to the beach and just go, hey, everybody. Like, I don't throw
Yeah.
my arm around strangers and,
No.
and say, oh, even if I just met someone for the first time, especially if it was a woman, I wouldn't just throw my arm around her and say, hey, take a photo with me. It just doesn't happen. And
Not at all.
we've seen multiple photos come out. So it's like,
Yeah.
you're not just acquaintances, you're friends.
And I would say if 3 photos had surfaced of maybe like 10 to 14
Sure.
people, and they were on the opposite, like some of the pictures, for example, they were less like incriminating of that or indicative of that, because you could make an argument, well, maybe they're friends of friends that are close knit and they all got invited. but that would be if maybe like 2 or 3 photos came out. There were 10 or
Right.
more people. They were on opposite sides of the photos, which is the case in some of the photos. However, there's numerous photos of them with their arms around each
Yeah.
other at numerous locations at numerous times,
Hugging
and
each
that would
other. Like, come on.
exactly, and that just starts to lend itself to those individuals would be considered friends by my definition of what I consider a friend and acquaintance. If I
Right.
look at those pictures, I would say, oh, they're definitely friends. I would not think that they were acquaintances at
Yeah.
all.
I don't
And
I don't
it,
hug my
yeah,
acquaintances. I just
yeah.
don't.
And I just don't think that if I was in her if I was in her seat in that situation, I would say this: she has little to lose by just
Hmm.
saying that she's friends.
Right.
Excuse me, she has, yeah, am I saying that right? She has little to lose if she says they're friends,
Right.
but she has a lot to lose
Yes.
if she says that they're acquaintances and
Right.
beats around the bush. I haven't seen her since high school, and photos emerged from 2021. Those images are out there. They were obviously dumped by people that were either once upon a time mutual friends, friends they had falling out with, frenemies, for example,
Right.
that just basically dumped at the Turtle Boy and leaked they did all weekend long. But if I was in her particular situation, I don't see um, what her testifying that she's friends with Caitlyn would really have to do with anything. Only thing that would really do to her is that would dampen her claim that she said she heard Karen say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. But I
Sure.
don't think that that would really have a major factor one way or the other. So if I was her, I just would have gone up there and said, "Yeah, we're friends. Yeah, I heard. If she thought she heard she hit him, fine. Testify to that. I don't
Right.
believe she did. I think she said, I did. Did I hit him? Did I hit him? But
Of
I
course.
think that this girl's taken it upon herself to put herself at too much risk, and I would not put myself in that situation. And if I was her, I would not recommend it.
Yeah.
I would just say, well, we're maybe somewhat acquaintances, but we've been pretty good friends. I know her. I've known her since high school. Yeah, I've gone on beach trip. I would just say, yeah, because then the images come out and
Yeah.
they're saying something
Makes you look
else.
worse.
You know,
Just makes you
you
look
know,
worse now. So
yeah.
I got a couple of super chats that came through. Let's get these up to the total. So we have Dean Jam. Thank you so much for being a member and an awesome channel moderator. I appreciate it. She just threw in $5. So thanks, Brian. Hashtag free Karen Reed. I had another one come through. Sarah, thank you so much for the big $20 donation. She says, thank you for the warm welcome. I follow this case since TB started writing about it. Karen is clearly innocent. She's such a strong woman. Watching this trial has been a wild ride. And today was only day 8. Free Karen Reed. So we'll add that to the total. Thank you. And Garrett comes through with a $5. Says defense lawyers will totally set Caitlyn up for the self-destruction in the Katie situation. And again, I think Maz and I completely agree with that. So thank you, Garrett. Scott McGinnis checking in. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. Scott's a huge supporter here. Always a gentleman when I get out to see him at the courthouse. Always pleasure to speak through. He held my camera for me the other day right through the restroom. So thank you, Scott. He said, plug for my daughter. She had her nursing pinning ceremony yesterday. That's awesome, Scott. Graduating from college today. First 2 days I ever have missed in the Free Karen Reed court fronts. But wonderful, proud dad once again here. Dude, that's so awesome. Congratulations to your daughter. I'm so proud for her, and I hope she becomes an awesome, wonderful nurse that has a long career of helping people, because that's what we want. We just want good people in those positions. Let's see. And I think that's all we have. Oh, someone was asking, LTL, do they have Caitlyn's phone data? They probably do. They probably do, I would guess. And that's why, we were talking about the Snapchat communication. There's got to be something there because Jackson wouldn't bring that up. KC says we're at 177 now. 25% of that will go towards Karen Reed's defense fund. So I appreciate that. So what do you think's going to shake out? So we have, I think Caitlyn's scheduled soon. I think she's, according to Lally's list.
Yeah. The rumor I heard today was that it's likely that obviously it's going to, Julie Albert, of course, and then it looks like Brian and his wife would be the next witnesses called. And then I'm thinking that probably we're looking at next week for Caitlyn. I think really what you've seen so far is that first responders went first. Then essentially yesterday, it was a lot of individuals that were at the gathering at the waterfall. And then it's kind of transitioned into the essentially people that were in the house or maybe even at the waterfall that went back to the house. And I think that's kind of essentially where it's kind of evolving. I think after they get through a lot of the Alberts, McCabe's, etc., I think you're going to start to transition to more of expert-based people. These are
Yeah.
going to be individuals that are probably going to start talking about the nooks and crannies of everything that's gone down, forensics or whatever, I guess. But I think that's kind of really the path that they're taking. I kind of, I'm not a Lally fan, but I do kind of like the order, just because I do kind of like how it started with the first responders to give you an idea of
Mhm.
the scene. Then they've kind of talked to, the I like to call them the lower level individuals that were there, and then they're transitioning into now kind of the key individuals. And then I kind of like how they're probably going to go right into experts and all that. But I think it's a good order. And unfortunately, I think Adam's actually putting it in an order that's been more favorable to the defense, quite honestly.
Yeah, I was gonna say it just keeps kind of getting worse for him. Everybody
Yeah.
was brought up there. It's just literally, I mean, today I felt in my mind, I think Lank was killed the
Yeah.
Commonwealth
Oh yeah.
when they went through the call. And I can't remember when Jackson asked Lank, he said, "Who are you talking to?" Did he answer that or say, "I don't recall"? I can't remember.
I don't even remember myself. I'll say this, Brian. I don't recall.
I love it. Dun, dun, dun. I wish I had the drum
Yeah.
sound hooked up right
Yeah.
now.
Exactly. But
Ba-dum-bum.
yeah.
But yeah, I that was pretty amazing testimony. He just literally walked through that video. He said, and that it was crazy to see all of what was going on. Jen McCabe slips off. One, you've now let a witness leave the scene, which is ridiculous. She steps off. Lank's on his phone.
They're saying he didn't remember. They're saying in the
Right.
comments.
Carrie,
Yeah.
Carrie and Karen leave. All of a sudden, the light goes on, and he hangs up his phone.
Yeah.
Come on.
Oh boy, it's just and these on call cops too. It's just crazy. It's like it's like just what are they rent a cops? Hey, Mike, can you come on down? Don't call
Right.
the police station. Just call a cop on his cell phone and have him come on down. It's just that's unbelievable. I
Yeah.
mean, that's incredible.
Let's see.
Unbelievable.
He says, Microdot says he could guess but won't. Oh, that's what it was. That was his testimony. I could guess, but I won't. That's real great stuff there. He said, I can't remember.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unreal.
And
Oh,
then
that guy.
the question everybody's been putting, what if anything do you recall? Because that was
Yeah,
that was the response.
great question. Yeah, do you recall anything?
Yeah,
What did
what
you have
if
for breakfast this morning?
right.
Do you remember that?
Jackson just nailing it in.
Jeez.
But I heard a rumor, and I don't know if this is true. If you've heard this, Lally doesn't even have an accident reconstructionist. Really?
I haven't heard that, but I might have been missing not educated to that, but I wouldn't doubt that if that's the case. And actually, I think I did hear about
That's
that. He
kind of
didn't have
weird,
one.
isn't it?
Yeah. You'd think that they'd have all kinds of, like you remember the movie Sully, where they kind of showed like a reenactment that
Yeah.
was going on. I think maybe they do something like that in this particular situation. Unless, of course, they just want to use Plevins. If the Commonwealth wants to do that, they can do that. It might be some factual errors in the theory, but they want shame on Corti for showing that. By the way,
It's ridiculous.
yeah.
I mean,
But
that's pretty downright embarrassing. And they just keep
yeah,
having him back. I mean, I guess the back and forth is what they want with Nick and Plevin.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, but
Compelling television would always have two people with opposing views side by side, and
of course.
Plevin's the man for the job on that end of things. So.
It just sucks that he's getting the exposure, and unfortunately, people are probably going over and subscribing to his channel and listen to his line of BS.
Oh, it's
But I
great.
will say this: I'm going to say this, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh," when I was out there the other night at the Court TV Live, which was a great time. I got to meet a lot of people and a lot of supporters of Karen Reed. I have to say, I did run into Kevin. He was very pleasant to me. He said,
Okay.
"Hi, how are you? Congratulations with the studio." And that's
That's
really
nice.
it. And I said to him, "Hey, it was kind of like that. It was like good luck in what you do." And he kind of good luck in what you do, kind of like, fuck you kind of stuff. But it was, and listen, he was fine with me. The other, he said, "Congratulations on the studio and good luck." And that was the conversation I had with him.
He seems to be, from my impression, a man that genuinely believes what he believes. I don't
Yeah.
know if he has any affiliations with people in the McAlberts or whatnot. I won't speculate to that, but I do feel like the guy is just some guy that just believes what he believes, and that's it. I don't feel like he's as motivated as some other parties we've seen that are really, um, you know, yeah, he's just like a guy like, hey, I just believe this and blah 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 blah, and it's like, okay, whatever you say, and he debates it and debates, but I don't feel like he's been as volatile as the mother and son
Yeah. I mean,
out there, or more of a paid spokesperson, I believe, as a formal member of the government agency out there.
Yeah.
But
He came in my chat a couple of times and started stuff with me. And I said, look,
yeah,
man, I don't go to your chat and do this shit. So don't rile it up in my chat. And
yeah.
he hasn't come over here.
Oh,
He
jeez.
tends to kind of, but I think that sometimes, Maz, I think sometimes people get involved and try to take this opposing side because, again, I think it's people that just believe what they want to believe and
Right.
they want to be somebody. They're searching for something. They want to be
Mhm.
part of something. And that's why I think we go back to Grant. And we talked a little bit about Grant earlier and just all the shenanigans that he's pulled and all the bullshit. I mean, we saw what he was doing to Turtle Boy the other day out there in front of the court. And it's just hard to believe that this guy, with all the vitriol that he spits outside that courtroom, I have the videos of him flipping everybody off. I mean, flipping everybody. I mean, that's what a credible, reputable journalist would do on the courthouse steps, to disrespect that way.
Oh, yeah.
In this crap about calling, TV an R and all this stuff.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, how is this guy's credentials not pulled, or at least
Oh,
just
yeah.
suspended for, like, you know what, dude, you time out. You got a week out. Like, how does this not happen?
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, that guy basically deserves his own, like, 1 hour special of, like, the times and antics of Grant Smith Ellis. He's like a modern day Andy Kaufman. He's trying to set off an entire. It's like he's just out. Can you imagine if this guy was just doing this just to set people off for the laughs, and he's just out there doing. I mean, the way he was flipping off Tommy, it was like, this guy can't be serious.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I
He's
mean,
like a villain wrestling manager or something. It's just unbelievable. It's like, dude.
Bobby Heenan.
Oh, he's so animated. It's just unbelievable. It's like this guy is just nuts. And then today he had apparently he had a final exam that he wasn't aware of until last minute. I guess
Oh,
he had
God.
some time extended to do it, and it's what he said at least. Some believe that maybe they just didn't let him in the courtroom today, but I guess we'll see as time goes on what's
But I
going
mean,
on.
it's funny, the number of complaints and from the complaints that I've heard and the reports I supposedly that have been sent in about him. I mean, how this guy still has his press credentials
It's true.
it's beyond.
You deserve your press credentials. That's for
They won't
sure.
give it to me.
That's crazy.
I tried. They essentially
Yeah.
said they don't take YouTube as sourcing source reporting. So I
Okay.
said this: screw them. I'll start a website. I'll get
Yeah.
all my content up on there, and I'll start writing some small blogs or reports
Right.
about Karen Enriquez.
Yeah.
And I'll reapply in a week or two. I mean,
Right. Yeah. You'll be good that way, yeah. And the WordPress, which is what I don't usually I
yeah,
don't use my WordPress, but you can actually pay and they'll get rid of the .wordpress part, and you can just
sure.
have your own website too, which is cool about that.
Your
It's very easy to use.
your site is slick, man. I was checking
Yeah.
out. I'm like, oh, you got a slick little site there. I
Oh
see
yeah.
what you're doing.
Oh yeah. I never have the time to write. I should just take all my Twitter posts and just make them articles too. I'm like, I should just copy everything and dump it on there as an
Yeah.
article. And
There you go. And you could probably apply and get your press pass and probably have it tomorrow. It took
yeah,
them.
probably.
I'm telling you, Mez, I wrote them for months. And guess
Wow.
when they wrote me back? When I called them out on Twitter the other day.
Oh
I
wow.
called them out on Twitter. I replied because when TB got his press pass, I
Yeah.
replied and said, I've been trying for months, and I posted my email. I
Yeah.
posted my email up, and I said, I've been trying for months. I've reached out to the SGC. I've reached out to Jennifer Donahue. No response. And guess what? Today in my email box, they wrote me and said, oh, well, we don't use YouTube as a credible source of reporting.
Oh.
I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
It'd be nice to get that information a long time ago, at least.
Right.
If you're just going to turn you down, just tell me at least what's missing or what I
Right.
can
And I
do.
said, well,
Don't leave me in the dark.
right. And I said, what do you call what is your credible media source then? Is it Twitter? Because I have a Twitter.
Yeah.
Grant got his, from what I heard, through freaking having a Patreon.
Oh boy.
Because he wrote articles or whatever on his page. It's unbelievable.
Jeez, that
Rules for
process
thee, but
is
not
nuts.
for me, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. Oh, it's absolutely insane. Oh, it's unbelievable.
So what do you see here over the next couple of weeks? Do we see it's more utter destruction for the Commonwealth?
Yes, I do.
Do we see Lally just giving up and not showing up? I mean, where does this go?
Well, I think Lally's going to show up because Lally is a 9 to 5 prosecutor anyway. So he's just like, I'm here. It's a job. I wanted to leave this job 10 years ago, but here I am. He's such
He's a
a
ham and
generic.
egger, I call him. He's like a
He
ham and
is.
egger.
He is. It's a great terminology to use because that's exactly what he is. He's just your generic, cliche default prosecutor that's on the job, and It's just another day at work for him, and that's just the way he operates. The getting through this with the McAlberts, Brian Albert, Caitlin, potentially Colin, Chris, of course, Jen McCabe, perhaps Matt McCabe, perhaps. Um, it's going to be a interesting time. I think what we're going to start to see is you're not going to see like those full days have like only like they had 7 people yesterday, for
Yeah.
example, on a full day. I don't think you're going to see that as much. I think you're going to start to see maybe 3 or 4 tops like you have earlier, and it's going to be more elongated cross examinations because I was on, another show, The Young Jerks, yesterday, and I said this. I go, dilly dally lally.
I love that.
I call him the lollipop kid instead of the lollipop kid. The lollipop kid.
So Scott,
Uh,
you got a wrench. You're now a moderator on the
There
channel.
we
You can
go.
help curb the channel. And Microdocs got a wrench as well. So welcome to the moderator groups. But you're one of the top doggies here. And I know Mazza's got one in here too. So
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I just posted in the comments the lollipop kid instead of the lollipop kid.
yes, lollipop kids. But I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. But I think that this is something I was hoping for yesterday. I was hoping that the cross examination of the chicken parm one would be a long process. It would be not quick. It would be
Yeah.
probably about 2 hours long, if not an hour, hour and a half at least. And I thought that the longer you like Sergeant Good, for example, he seemed to kind of, in my opinion, do a good job at kind of trying to bounce through the questions with
Yeah.
sure, sure, sure,
Yeah.
like all that. So he tried to get through it, and he seemed to kind of plow through it to some degree. But in his later stages, he started to kind of the dents in the armor and the endurance he had started to break, and he started to change his demeanor a little bit as time went on. And I thought for Chris, he's a lot more of a Chris is kind of like a um, off the cuff, kind of, like when Jen O'Donnell called him out. You're embarrassing. You're embarrassed. Oh, look at that. Oh,
He's
Turtle Boy showed up at the court.
14
great.
minutes ago,
Oh,
Turtle Boy
boy.
tweets out. He says, "Hey Grant, this is Daddy's chair now,"
Oh,
and it
boy.
says Grant Smith Ellis chair.
That is hilarious. I got to retweet that immediately.
Only TV, only TV.
Oh, that is
It's
funny.
good stuff. Yeah,
What a
that's
natural character. Turbo's got it all. He's got the personality, and he's also got the intelligence to go with everything. So he's doing a
Yeah.
great job.
he's very good at coming back at people. He's very
Oh,
quick
yeah.
he's very quick-witted at that. So
When he got into it with Tristan Morris last week, he goes, "I'm ready to kick your ass right now." And then all of a sudden he goes, "Just like you did to John O'Keefe." I was like,
yeah.
"Oh, damn. Boom." I was like, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
And I think the next season of Whose Line Is It Anyway should feature Grant that way, because it's his line, like you said. Get out of my fucking line. Get out of my line.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the if we say this, the best testimony, the best cross is yet to come. I mean, you're gonna have Proctor, you're gonna have Jen McCabe, and those are the people that I'm really looking. I want to hear from both of them, and I want to hear from Brian Albert. I want to hear from Brian Albert, and I'm gonna tell you. Let's just butter the chat up here. I'm gonna tell you. You're gonna hear a lot of I don't recall and I don't remember. You're going to hear probably a lot of that from a lot of from those.
And perhaps people. Everyone's waiting on who's going to plead the fifth first.
But I'm going to tell you, it could happen. But I'm going to tell you, it's going to make them look really bad.
Yes, it will be.
I
yes,
think
it will.
Especially in this case.
I agree 100%. If they plead the fifth on that, that's going to be basically the end of the case. I mean, the case, my opinion, I don't want to sound arrogant here. I think they won the case in a matter of days.
Mm-hmm.
If not 2 days or 3 days in. I hate to sound so arrogant about it, but I just feel confident about it. But like I said, if they do, I would do a thorough cross-examination of all these top players. I would spend probably an entire day cross-examining Michael Proctor if it's necessary.
Yeah.
I would have many questions. Yeah, and Jen McKay, I agree as well. I would cross-examine her for a period of no less than 4 hours, quite honestly, because I'd ask them every question. I'd ask questions later on different ways just to get a very thorough cross-examination out of them. And I don't know how many questions they'll be able to ask Brian, because I think there's only so many questions they can ask. I think some of the obvious ones are going to be, why didn't you come outside the house? You're a first responder. And furthermore, if you didn't come outside when you were alerted to the incident, why not when first responders showed up? Did you come out of the house that Did you come out of the house when they were running a leaf blower, perhaps the next
Right.
morning?
Yeah.
Did you ever get questioned? And these cops claim they went in the house, but at the same time, he is a first responder. It is his responsibility to, if you're a medical person, and there's somebody having a medical incident, I believe that you're required to
You are.
tend to that person
Yes.
in an emergency situation as a medical person. So, with this being said about a first responder from a police standpoint, you would think that not only should he go out there, but also he would be compelled to go out there as a first responder and a police officer
Mhm.
that has a very distinguished career from what we've understand, and would be wanting to go out there right away and finding out what the hell is going on in his property. As a homeowner and a police officer, I'd
Mhm.
imagine that he would be one of the first people to want to put his jacket and boots on and find out what's going on.
Sure.
But in a
Yeah.
situation like this, typically I would say if there's any kind of guilt, that probably my best advice to you is to be quiet and hide.
Yeah, I mean, I do know that for a fact. You are required unless you are in the travel of an emergency. So, like, let's say you're a first
Mhm.
responder, you're an EMS worker, right? You're driving down the highway, or a doctor or whatever, and there's an accident. You are required to stop and help and see if people need treatment, unless you're being like called into your shift or emergency and you have to get somewhere. I
Right.
do know that.
That
I do
makes
know.
perfect sense.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
I'll let you take this one. So,
Sure.
question from AK says Mazza Media, LTL Media, a lot of media's up here on the panel tonight. Can't the defense call them again as witnesses for the defense and go after them then?
Yes, they can.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. They can always call a witness. A witness is always a witness throughout the course of the case. So the trial, so they can always recall them if they need to. That's happened, I'm sure, many times over in court cases across the country. I would say that they would only need to do that if they knew that they needed to do that. So basically, I would say like Katie McLaughlin right now would be one of the optimum people that you'd think would be recalled,
Mhm.
but there's an opportunity for the defense to maybe just cross-examine Caitlin Albert to get answers out of Caitlin Albert that would pertain to questions they might have for Katie. So in that particular situation, you may
Mhm.
not see someone like Katie recalled. A situation where they might want to call someone back up to the stand would just be if that new things have surfaced throughout the course of the trial that maybe they hadn't thought of or asked before. Typically, like new information that the defense wasn't
Mhm.
necessarily aware of. As outside observers, we've already seen so much information come to the table that we were not aware of up until this case, from Jen McCabe walking towards the house to cops claiming they went in the house to a piece of taillight that apparently um, uh, Berkowitz had found, and then to something we learned today as well, which I'm going blank on for some reason right now. But the 1213 waterfall footage of Chris. So those are some of the things that we're learning as we go. So that'd be an opportunity. But for them, I would just do it as needed, not abuse it really. And I think it might have been Brian that said it. They may not need to recall her, perhaps they could if they need to, but if they don't need to, they can go through Caitlin Albert. So they have plenty of options, which is great. And I think that right now they may not need to recall anybody or call anybody back up because they're cruising right along here. I know they should never
Innocent
be
will sinking
arrogant.
himself anyway. I mean, the Commonwealth is all their
Yeah,
witnesses are sinking Lally's case, and I think
yeah,
he knows it. I mean, I think he knows it.
yeah.
A lot of this kind of like really dragging into these, and believe me, and I think I tweeted this out the other day. I think, I mean, maybe you agree. Doesn't it kind of sound like Hannibal Lecter when he talks? Like,
Yeah, a little bit.
isn't it
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit like I ate his liver with some fava
yeah.
beans and a nice
Oh,
Chianti? I'm just waiting for him to be like,
yeah.
kind of sounds like Hannibal Lecter. I'm like,
Oh
oh
man.
my god. But yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
he's sinking himself. I mean,
yeah.
I guess there was a rumor the other night that Lally was up at Morrissey's office really, really late the other night,
Oh
and
wow.
I'm sure he was getting rid of. I mean, just hammered.
Jeez.
You
Senator
know.
Palpatine's office. Chancellor, was it
You
chancellor or senator or whatever it was?
yeah. Can you only imagine? Morrissey must be out of his mind right now.
Oh yeah, because you know what it is that it's that upper flowing effect where it's going to affect people up above. So if it's a Canton police issue, that becomes a state police issue, that becomes a
Mhm.
Commonwealth issue, that now, or that then becomes a, the state police rigged and committed a cover up. This is a major controversy for the Commonwealth, one that they can, if anybody wonders why the Commonwealth would want to just kind of put the lid on this thing, it's because of the fallout. They're probably more concerned about Michael Proctor going down. They'll punish him from within if they need to, and they'll take him out the back door and kick him out of the state police if they wanted to at some point in the future if they decide to do that. I don't know if that will happen, but they know right now that if Michael Proctor's found out involved in a cover-up and many other people are
Oh my
found out,
God.
there's a major issue with every single person that's ever been convicted that he's brought
Every
to
case
justice.
that he's been part of, and he
Yep.
was so instrumental in the Brian Walsh case. But it's
Mhm.
funny, and I did a live about this. All of that geofencing data that he had in his report with Brian Walsh and all the information that he had that lined Brian Walsh. And the thing that's really sick about it is he followed him around for days and allowed this guy to scatter pieces of this poor woman all over the place
Yeah,
until they
jeez.
actually went and got him.
Unreal.
But I mean, look at all the data that they had on Brian Walsh,
Yep.
and there's none of that in Karen Reed's case.
Yep.
The defense had to pull all that out. It's just
Right.
crazy.
It's crazy. It's absolutely nuts. But that's what they're fearing right now is that they're that from a PR standpoint, from a public trust
Oh my
standpoint,
God.
it's going to be not one of the biggest nightmares that this state has ever seen from a lawful level ever
Yeah.
in this state. It's going to be up there. I don't know what the top things would be thrown out off the top of anybody's heads, but I'd say it'd be right up at the top.
Yeah. What if anything says maybe he was looking at Brian Walsh's nudes?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. Geez. I mean, that's yeah.
Listen, I know you've done a long live today. I know you've been
Yeah.
pretty active. We're
Since
coming up on
6.
yeah, we're coming up on 2 hours here. Let's do this. We'll wrap up in a couple of minutes. If you don't mind, let's take a couple of questions from the chat.
Sure.
If anybody wants to ask a question of Maz or myself, throw it up there in the chat, put a Q, and then ask your question. We'll take a couple of them before we end here. But I want to thank Maz Media for being here. It's the first time we've gotten together.
Thank
I
you.
definitely want to have you back on the show, please. If
Thank you.
you do that, I think you have a lot of value to add here, and I love your insight. If you're not following Maz on Twitter, please go over, give him your hand. Is it just at Mazza Media?
Yeah, I'm putting it on the chat right now for you guys. Right
Drop
there.
your link in there. Drop your YouTube channel on there because you do occasional lives as well too. But if anybody has a question, drop it in there. I know we're at $177 total for Karen Reed's defense fund right now. I'll take 25% of that, donate it to Karen. That's $44. I'm going to round it up to 50. So I'm going to put a $50 donation as of right now on Karen Reed's defense fund site. I'll post receipts on my Facebook page and my YouTube community tab after the show. And like I said, you can just go there for full transparency, look at the recent donations, and it will say LTL Media Chat Raiser. And I'll actually probably just put the date in there as well too. And I'll start adding that in when we give back. Okay, let's got a question here from Vixie. She says, do you think Chris will be calling Bev? What do you think on that one, Maz?
I'm not sure what their communication is beyond on the outskirts of this whole thing,
Right.
but anything's possible. I mean, you just never know what these individuals. I mean, we know that Chris's lawyer back in 1994 was actually her brother, so we don't know if he's talking through his brother. I don't know. I don't want to make any theories, but I don't want to make any allegations. But I'll list it as a theory that it could be possible that Chris could be talking to his old attorney to get that. I don't know, but that'd be wild if that was actually happening.
There's so many connections, man. It just goes so deep. It's like, who isn't connected into this case? You know what I mean? So what the Fox says, if the Commonwealth doesn't call one of their witnesses like Lucky, what good is he to them? Can the defense still call him if the Commonwealth doesn't? Yes. Commonwealth, either side can call anybody as a witness. I'm probably right on that.
That's
right?
what I'm of the understanding of, is that they can call anybody because they, a witness is a witness. So, and then they can typically cross-examine and everything too. So, I know typically they can cross-examine witnesses called by the prosecution, but they can typically bring someone up and ask a series of questions because you see Adam Lally as the prosecutor, he's asking questions. But they formally call it cross-examination when it's a defense attorney. So yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, and I want to keep everybody in mind with this too. Keep your mind open that just because a case is at trial, new things come in and come out of trials all the time. So they might get a new witness that stepped forward or a new piece of information as they're going through this trial. Things like that happen in these cases too. Of course, if it's the defense of the Commonwealth that finds this piece of evidence, they have to bring forth. Bev has to make a rule on it if they're going to allow it to come in or not. So,
Yeah.
but it does happen. Cases
Big
are so
testimony
common.
if he comes on. Lucky, I'll tell you, that would be huge.
Oh
He
yeah,
would be. I mean, he's ultimately one of the biggest factors, an eyewitness that's coming up there. And I still wonder if this guy's been in any kind of protective custody all this time. He's been
seriously.
so hard to find for a year now.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Robin's
Yeah.
asking, do you think the defense will bring in any federal evidence tomorrow? They weren't. What was it? They just couldn't talk about it in the open statement, but they could bring it in later. If I understand that correct, right, Maz?
I'm not too knowledgeable on what they can do from a federal evidence level. I don't know if they're able to admit that as evidence in this case. I'm not sure if that's gonna. I'm not
We're not
sure.
lawyers, so we don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
But let's see. Any other?
I'd imagine Auntie Bev might try to stop that from
Oh,
even
she'll
coming
nix
out.
that right
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. There was one more here that I saw. What charges can these lower level participants face when the feds close in? Conspiracy, perjury. I mean, the biggest thing that I see here, I mean, without a doubt, would probably be perjury right away.
Yeah.
You don't want to face those types of charges. You probably get a year in jail for it, probably just as a minimum sentence. But I don't know. It's all going to depend on Bev and what comes out. But
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, Maz, I feel like there's going to be a trip up somewhere with one of these
Oh yeah.
witnesses. They're going to
Oh,
end
there's
up
gonna
getting
be.
themselves screwed.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, for sure. They're they better be careful. I would just if I was ever on a stand in any case, I'd just be as truthful as possible because
Mhm.
you're not, you don't want to go down with the ship. You just want to make sure you can walk in and out of there and you're all set, and even if
Yeah.
it's you had to give up a friend or something, I understand, that's your friend, but at the end of the day, do you want to put yourself in a situation to face legal liability for
Yeah.
it,
Right. And we know about Higgins and the proffer. So what has Higgins got on his plate? What does he know and what has he potentially done? We know that the destroyed cell phone. We know Brian Albert destroyed his cell phone. I'm sure those questions are going to come up, but I feel a lot of I don't recall and I don't remember is going to start happening when that line of question comes. Sarah's asking, and we'll take this as the last question, then we're going to wrap this one up. Sarah C says, do we know for sure if Colin will be called to testify? If so, do we know when? I don't know for sure.
Yeah,
I don't know for
that,
sure.
yeah, it's gonna be hard to say, but I know he's on the witness list, and we'll see what
Mhm.
ends up happening. But
Right.
maybe him not being at the waterfall might be Lally's out to not call him because he's calling people from the waterfall right now.
Waterfall
So
right now. Right.
we'll see how that develops. Yeah.
And now that we know, what was it? Chris today basically placed Colin
Yes, he
back
did.
at the house
Yeah.
later. He actually kind of screwed himself a later time frame, and Yannetti was masterful at that today
Oh, it's
to get that.
amazing.
Oh, it was so good to watch.
About an hour ago, you testified this. Well, look at the camera footage from the waterfall. It says you were
Right.
there at 12:13.
Oh, he just smoked them, and that was just a masterclass. The defense has been on fire. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I would say Karen's team A++, Lally
Yeah.
definitely F minus so far,
Yeah.
and all the witnesses he brought forward was just completely sank Lally so far. So we'll see. All right, everybody, we are going to wrap this one up. Maz has a long day. I've had a
Yeah.
long day here again,
Back-to-back
man.
shows.
Yeah, I want to thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. And let's do this again. We'll do this
Sure.
again in a couple of weeks, and we'll let a
Yeah.
couple more weeks of the trial roll out. I know you and I will be tweeting back and forth and
Sure.
staying in communication.
Of course.
And you're always welcome here on LTL anytime.
Thank
Just
you,
let
Brian.
me know. We'll put something together. All right, everybody. We're going to head out. Thank you all so much. I'm going to hit the outro here. I hope everybody has an amazing night. If you haven't subscribed already, please make sure to subscribe here to LTL Media. I would appreciate that. And then give Maz Media a subscribe on his YouTube channel. You just look him up, Mazza Media, and also check him out on Twitter. He's very, very active on Twitter, and puts out really great information and sometimes some really funny stuff. That you had your Auntie Bev sidebar
Yes.
sidebar today, which
You
was
saw that, yeah.
hilarious. I saw that before the show, so that was really, really
That's
good
great.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I just want to kind of announce this. I am only about 15 subscribers away from hitting 19,000. So I appreciate everybody coming over here. I'm hoping by the end of trial we hit 20. 20 would be great. 25 would be amazing. But we keep trucking along. And I want to let everybody know I'm going to donate, as of right now, $50 to Karen Reed's Defense Fund. I'll get that posted up right after the show. Get receipts up for full transparency. And I appreciate all your donations that come in this evening. All right, Maz, we're going to head out. Thank you again so much for being here, man.
Thank
And
you.
we'll
Appreciate
talk
it.
to everybody
Great time.
soon. All right.
Take
Bye,
care.
everybody. Bye.
Take care. Good night.